Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to trace the fallout from a single event that pushes the entire world right to the brink, the assassination of a nation's leader.
So, what does happen when a nation is, well, decapitated? We're diving right into a flashpoint in the Middle East that kicked off with a direct and absolutely devastating assault on the very top of Iran's leadership.
Yeah, this was not just another border skirmish. This was a full-on decapitation strike aimed squarely at the top of the Iranian state. And you better believe the repercussions were immediate. They spread like a shockwave way beyond Tehran.
Okay, so to really get how this one act of violence could spiral into a global mess, we've got to follow the chain of events. We'll kick things off at the epicenter, in Iran, then look at the immediate retaliation against Israel, see how America gets pulled in, and finally, unpack the war of narratives and the global stakes that put pretty much everyone on high alert.
All right, first up, crisis at the epicenter. So, with its leader just gone, how did Iran respond? Did the whole state just crumble? Let's take a look.
And make no mistake, this attack was deeply personal. It wasn't just some political hit. No, it was designed to absolutely shatter the ruling family. The supreme leader's wife, his daughter, his son-in-law, all reported killed. This was meant to send one message, and one message only: total annihilation.
But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of the chaos everyone expected, something pretty remarkable happened. Iran just activated a meticulously planned succession strategy. I mean, look at this process. A temporary committee takes over, there's a pre-approved list ready to go, and a clear successor, the late Ayatollah's son, Mojtaba, is right at the top. This was not a regime in panic. This was a state built to survive exactly this kind of thing.
Okay, Section 2, Israel under fire. And because there was no power vacuum, right, Iran's response wasn't confused or delayed. It was immediate, it was focused, and it was fierce, with their entire military might aimed straight at Israel.
Now, as you'd probably expect in a situation like this, the first reports coming out were heavily censored. Officially, the Israeli narrative was all about control. They claim the Iranian missile strikes caused only, and I quote, minimal damage.
But then, the eyewitness videos started trickling out from places like Tel Aviv and Haifa, and they painted a dramatically different picture. We're talking a whole bus station just leveled, total chaos at Ben Gurion Airport, and just raw panic in the bomb shelters. The reality on the ground? Yeah, it was anything but minimal.
And just like that, this thing spiraled way beyond a regional fight. Here we are, Section 3, America drawn in. Because Iran believed the U.S. was in on the attack, they started targeting the assets of Israel's most powerful ally all across the Middle East.
And the sheer scale of this retaliation? It was just staggering. This wasn't one or two isolated incidents. I mean, look at this. Attacks on American consulates, embassies, military facilities, they flared up almost at the same time in at least 5 different countries. A huge demonstration of Iran's regional reach.
You know, Iran's diplomacy here was just as strategic as its military moves. The foreign minister put out this really clear statement to neighboring Arab nations, basically saying, hey, our target is not you. The American bases on your land, though, they are our targets. A really calculated move, right? Trying to isolate the U.S. and stop this from turning into an even bigger regional war.
All right, on to Section 4. At the same time all this physical fighting was going on, a completely different battle was raging, a war of narratives. A fierce information war on the global stage, with each side desperately trying to shape how the world saw what was happening.
And right away, 2 totally conflicting stories pop up. You had a Washington Post report claiming that Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, MBS, had actually pressured the U.S. to attack. Then you have the Iranian view, saying, no way, that's just American propaganda, a ploy to break up Arab-Iranian relations and leave us isolated.
So, to fight back against that Western narrative of Iran being this isolated pariah state, its supporters started pushing out some pretty powerful counter-messaging. They circulated moments like this one from an old video in the 90s where you see a global icon, Nelson Mandela, addressing Ayatollah Khamenei as my leader. A really stark reminder of his influence, way beyond the Muslim world. But maybe the biggest, most powerful narrative shift was actually happening inside Iran. Check out this quote from a protester in Tehran. If we had our nuclear bomb, they would not have dared. Build it now. I mean, that captures a massive, seismic change, all of a sudden, you have this popular demand for a nuclear weapon, a program that Khamenei himself had strictly forbidden. His death? It basically removed that final barrier.
And moving into our final section, the world on the brink. This internal shift, this new nuclear ambition, is a huge reason why this conflict is now threatening to spiral into a full-blown global crisis. It's putting the entire world right on the edge.
See, from Iran's point of view, this isn't about territory. It's not about policy. For them, this is a fight for the very existence of their nation. Their leadership is convinced that the ultimate goal for the US and Israel is to break Iran up into 5 or 6 smaller, weaker countries. And when you believe you're fighting for national survival, well, compromise is pretty much off the table.
And the economic fallout? It was immediate and it was global. Iran made its big move. They shut down the Strait of Hormuz. We're talking about one of the most critical choke points for global trade on the planet. Something like 28 to 30% of all Middle Eastern trade just stopped. Overnight. And of course, oil prices started climbing everywhere.
The projections were frankly dire. Analysts started warning that if this war dragged on, oil prices could triple, 3 times the price. And that's not just about what you pay at the pump. It means the cost of everything. Heating your home, the food on your table, it could all just skyrocket and potentially trigger a global recession.
So as the dominoes just keep on falling, the entire world is left with this one really sobering question. Is this just a regional power's desperate fight for survival? Or are we watching the first act of a new world war? The answer to that, well, it holds unprecedented stakes for every single one of us.